Welcome to Tatum Talks. Today, my colleague Rebecca Ellis and myself are going to talk to you about managing your career through social media. This will obviously be for when you are looking for a job, but we also think it's equally important to do this on a day-to-day basis. So Rebecca, any thoughts for how to initially look at social media and your career?
I think it's really important to ensure that you've got an updated profile on LinkedIn. It sounds very obvious, but even as a junior person looking to manage their career, you should have an updated profile. Ensure that your CV is up to date, that it contains some interesting information. Begin to connect with people who you think could help you with your career, so industry experts. Join user groups on LinkedIn, and just starting to broaden your network through LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn will show you how to make the most of your profile. I think it does in percentages, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
so it will tell you if you've done 50% of what would be a good profile or 100%. And the more information you can put onto that about yourself, the more helpful that can be for your career going forward.
I also think it's important to remember it's not a stagnant thing, so you should be updating it all the time. You know, not just when you move jobs, but you know, if you have a promotion or you take on some interesting projects you think people would be interested in, then to update your profile in that way.
Yeah. Okay.
I also think that it's really important to think about who you're connecting with. So actually, you know, it's not like Facebook where you're just collecting lots and lots of people is a thing to do, perhaps.
Numbers won't necessarily make you look good.
No, they really don't. It's really important to think about that you're linking in with people who will help you with your career. So following industry experts, maybe people within your business as well, and people connected to the business, people you meet through meetings, those sorts of people.
And when you become more confident and more experienced in your career, are there ways of putting your own thoughts out there?
Absolutely. I think it's really important to do that. But I think, you know, if you're unconfident about that to start with, just liking other people's updates, people that you're following is a good place to start. And then when you feel more confident, you can start writing thought leadership, posting blogs, that sort of thing. But that often takes time, I think, before people feel confident about putting their words out there.
Okay. And for the more experienced of our candidates, I guess they can be those thought leaders and start discussions, perhaps start their own groups even, in terms of being really out there with their expertise.
I think it's really important because I think one should remember that LinkedIn isn't just about getting information for themselves and supporting, you know, their knowledge base, but it's actually about also promoting your thoughts and you as an industry expert in whatever field you operate within, and have people follow you. So it's about helping other people as well as, you know, getting some help and support from people within the industry.
Okay.
Also, it's important to remember that the more you use LinkedIn, the more activity you do on your LinkedIn profile, the higher you come up. So people can see you more regularly, see your opinion, perhaps begin to follow you, that sort of thing, which is really important.
And does it link into Twitter, or can it link into Twitter? Because obviously they're quite similar things and they're both very much on the up at the moment.
It can do if you wanted it to, but I think you've got to be aware that there are perhaps two different audiences when you're tweeting and when you're on LinkedIn. But I think on that point it's important to be if you do have a Twitter account, there's no excuse not to be able to research, you know, organisations and be up to speed on industry, and actually the quickest way to do that is to follow experts on Twitter.
Which probably leads us quite nicely onto following organisations, following people. Clearly, if you are active in terms of looking for a job and you secure some interviews, it's perfectly acceptable now to go onto the likes of LinkedIn and look up the person who you're due to interview with.
I think if you don't, you're probably mistaken not to, actually, because I think people, you know, typically, unless you have certain privacy settings which stops you from disclosing the fact that you're looking at somebody's profile, which I'm not sure is necessarily the best thing to do anyway, you are able to research people, and if people recognise that you haven't done that, then they may question why you haven't. And, you know, it's all very well looking on a firm's website of your bio and profile of a partner or you know, HR professional that you're meeting, but actually it's quite interesting to see if they're writing blogs, their thoughts on comments, who they're linked to. You won't get that from their official company website. Okay. I think it's also important to remember though not to use LinkedIn as a way to curry favour. So, you know, only ask for recommendations. You know, if you're interviewing with an organisation, you know somebody, you're tempted to ask for a recommendation internally, I'd only do that if you really knew somebody, rather than just because it's within your network of people that you may have come across once or twice.
Okay. And equally, on the flip side of that, you may find that the person interviewing you might check your details out
Absolutely.
on LinkedIn, which is why, back to our original point, if you have as much information on there as you can about your current achievements, current projects, also have maybe 2 or 3 recommendations, have people that have recommended you, but make those people that are going to be well known in the industry, or
definitely.
somebody credible, not your flatmate, for example.
And that's another thing to keep updated, isn't it? It's not just a case of, okay, I've made a LinkedIn profile, so I'll have 3. It's actually important to just keep asking for recommendations, as you say, for the right person. And the endorsements, I think, as well, seems to be an area that people are focusing on as well now. Likewise, you know, when you are interviewing with an organisation, there are other areas of social media that you perhaps need to be aware of. So, for example, Facebook and other areas, they're completely separate to LinkedIn. They're not about managing your career, but we have had cases where clients have looked on Facebook at candidates that they're interviewing. And if there are inappropriate sort of information on Facebook that probably doesn't put you in the best light, it's not ideal. So
Perhaps
just be aware of it.
Gone out and drunk 10 pints the night before the interview.
Or if you do, don't
plastered
talk
that
about it.
on
Yeah,
Facebook.
just keep it quiet.
Some businesses now and firms actually use Facebook as well, don't they, as a recruitment tool?
Yeah, they do. And I think that's more probably within the junior end of the market, or sort of certain areas. But I think graduates and recruitment and attraction in that side. So perhaps not more on the experienced piece, but I think it's really important to recognise that all areas of social media are completely accessible. So if you have all you need to do is search and it will come up. So if you have a personal Twitter account, be careful what you're writing on that account, even if it's not connected. Even if it's not connected to work.
It's indelible ink.
Yes, quite.
I think also back to researching the firm that you're going to be interviewing with, or that you are interested in, and this is where the Twitter part really comes in, because it's literally up to date, up to the minute information that people are putting out there, whether that's individuals from the firm or whether it's something like LSM, for example, who will know if there are mergers taking place, if there's any news on that. And you could literally get quite a lot of information over a 2-day period that would make you seem a lot more prepared for your interview than simply, this is the job I'm interviewing for. You need to show that you're commercial and understand the wider reach of the firm, not just the department and job spec that you're looking at.
I also think, you know, a lot of the candidates that we deal with, you know, one of the areas that we focus on is marketing and business development. And the reality is that within a role like that, you know, a firm will be using social media, and therefore in your day-to-day job you should be using social media to spot industry trends, you know, connect with the right people, keep up to date with information. If you're not using that in your own life, then there's a question for me around whether that's something that's instinctive and natural to you, which you should be doing in both areas of your life. So in conclusion, it's completely evident that social media plays a massively important part in managing your career, and also managing your career should be a constant, not just when you're looking for a new role.